What's up, Leruo? Good to see
Hey,
you,
how's it
man.
going, man? Good. All
So,
good.
today's podcast, I think we're going to have a lot of interesting things to speak about, right? So, before we get into sales, marketing, your expertise, my expertise, right? And we deep dive into that, how about you give us a quick introduction, who you are, what you've done in the past, right? Because your story is cool and also what you've done at your age, right?
Yeah, amazing, man. I really appreciate it, and yeah, it's also great to meet you in Dubai, man. You're also absolutely crushing it, super young. But yeah, for me, basically with my journey, I pretty much started marketing from a very young age, social media in specific. So I know the typical guys who start with like theme pages. That was like me. I started with like a motivational page, and that's where I learned the basics on how to grow on social media. Over time, I got exposed to a lot of other people that were crushing it with selling their own products, services, digital products. And yeah, one step after the other, I just kind of got more and more involved, learned, started working with clients at some point. And yeah, and today basically I have a digital marketing agency and we focus on helping people sell their digital products online. I must say sales is a massive part, especially when you want to sell much more premium and like higher value and higher level digital products, right? Or hybrid consulting packages. So yeah, that's pretty much been a little bit of a very quick snippet into the journey, right? Of course, there's so much more, but I'd love to, of course, make sure that we don't spend too long going into my life. But yeah, man. So I mean, let's kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask you a few more questions on your life and your journey because I'm actually really interested on how you ended up in this position, right? You're from South Africa, you're 23 years old now. And yeah, when it comes to my own journey, right, I have a bit of a different background with you,
Yeah.
like you just explained. I feel like marketing is very strategic, right? And you got to plan and think everything through. And for being someone who has been in a position where I was just overthinking a lot, I was so glad that I found sales because I feel like sales is for people who really want to make money, they want to be successful, but they just don't know where to start. I know sales is the best thing simply because you can't overthink it. It's simple execution, right? You get good at that one skill, you find a business partner to take sales calls for, and you just execute that skill and make money. It's literally that simple.
Yeah.
So if you master the art of sales, you're always going to be making money. It's that
Yeah,
simple.
100%. And I can completely agree with you. Over the years, I've worked with a lot of different clients, and I can tell you that, in my view, I think there's actually a lot of books I read on this, right? And it speaks about, the entrepreneur, the number one skill you need to have is to be able to sell, right? And so I love marketing, and I think marketing is it is, you're correct. There's so much like if you get to a point where it becomes very strategic and all of this, but of all the people I've met, a lot of the ones who are really, really doing well know how to sell, right? And so I can fully like tell you on that part, like 100%, right? And that's also just a common thing that I've seen myself. So I think like how you did it was quite smart of partnering up with these businesses because you also saw internally how they marketed and what they were doing. But you go in there and you sell and you have unlimited upside because you can just close these deals, get your commissions, and the more you close, the better. The higher the prices, or you go to higher, priced offers, the more commissions you make, right? So I think that it's a huge thing, and I think it's actually really smart. I would, if I had to go back, I'd probably also try start in sales because I think that it's crazy. I have one client also who crushes it. You know him, right? And he just sells all day, right? He doesn't do much crazy stuff. He just sells all day. And that I think can easily, if done well, if done smartly enough, if good enough offer, right, can crush it, right? At least to get to like the first good solid 5 figures per month. Right.
For me, exactly that was like the formula to success. I always wanted to make money, but I never knew where to start. And I was one of these
Yeah.
people thinking if I wanted to make money, I'd have to come up with this big idea and start a huge company or
Yeah.
invent something. And eventually I figured none of that is true, right? I could simply partner with people who are already very successful and take a piece of the pie by helping them with a very simple step of the overall process,
Yeah, and I
right?
know, like, I mean, maybe we can even like chat a little bit more about kind of like going a little bit deep into what you've done, right? Because it's quite interesting. I think for today, I'd love for people to also leave with as much knowledge on insights on you too, right? And I think for you, like, you're also quite young, right? And you live in Dubai. You live a pretty good life, And I know how I actually found out about you was because you were one of the top salespersons for one guy. He was doing really, really good, 6 figures per month. And yeah, maybe just, touch on that and kind of like what that experience was, what the biggest lessons were. And yeah, I think that would generally be quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like biggest lessons that I was able to take away from being in that environment so early on in my journey is that you have to be around people who open your eyes towards what's possible, right? For me, that was the biggest game changer. Just meeting someone my age, then next step, meeting someone my age doing 6 figures a month in profit, right? Meeting people doing multiple 6 figures, meeting people doing 7 figures a month in profit, having dinner with them, just realizing, hey, that just someone who has two hands just like me, right? They started somewhere. And literally the sky's the limit if you just go for it. What I tell people is that if you just start, you don't stop, who's going to stop you, right? It's that simple because people overcomplicate time. Like, oh, how long is it going to take? Don't even ask that question because if the goal that you want to reach is really worth it, take time out of the equation. If you start and don't stop, you will get there, right? If you just continue improving, you'll be good enough at some point to reach exactly the goal that you laid out for yourself. So that's what I tell people, just don't overthink it, start. And again, that's why I'm so happy I found sales, because you can't overthink it. It's simple execution. If you want to make money and you don't know where to start, get into sales, just grind, get good at that one skill and make money.
Yeah.
Sounds simple, but it actually is.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. No, that's really amazing. And what would you say were the biggest things that took you from kind of like just being an average beginner salesperson to being able to get to the level where you were closing literally 6 figures per month for some of these coaches and consultants?
I'd say 100% the network of being around other people who are just crushing it, killing it, right? They were hungry because if you're stuck in a place, if that's the place you live in or also the environment that you're in terms of people around you, and you're not inspired, you're not motivated, that's because you're not around anything that inspires you, right? That fuels your inner ambition. But it's on you to put yourself in that environment in the first place, right? So for me, being around other people who are just crushing it in sales, being really good and passionate about what they were doing, I was just able to pick up on things and learn so much so quickly. So I'd say the environment and the people around you is 100% the main thing. I mean, we've all heard the saying that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend most time with, right? It's on you to get the right people close to you and then basically just grow with them.
Yeah.
This is a learning I had to make pretty early on in my life, right? Of realizing the difference between people I grew up with and actual friends that want to see me win and grow and that choose the same path in life, right? I'm still very close with like my childhood friends, but it's not the people that I surround myself with every day, just for the simple reason that we all have different paths in life, right? When I see them, it's always like day one, you're really happy to see your bros, but still, if you have goals, you gotta build the surrounding that you have according to where you want to go. It's that simple.
Makes a lot of sense, man. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I mean, we can also maybe potentially dive into more strategy, like a little bit deeper into both topics. I don't know how you want to start it and play it out.
One thing I would like to add, actually, because you asked me about how I got so good so quickly, starting 6 figures, multiple 6 figures per month in sales. 100%, I think the mentality that I was able to acquire from loving combat sports, right? I mean, people who know me, you also know this, right? I'm extremely passionate about combat sports, fighting, the UFC.
So you would say that being in sales requires you to be kind of mentally strong. Is that what you mean?
Well, something that happens naturally when you're in sales, right, is you develop yourself. It's not about just the money. Sure, we all want to make more money, right? Still do. Money's great, right? But it's actually way more about the person that you become in the process.
Yeah.
And in sales, you learn to be resilient. You learn to just go at something until it works, right? And something that taught me this exact lesson very early on in my life was getting into combat sports, right? I started kickboxing when I was 15, then got into mixed martial arts, then the Thai boxing. And I entered this gym and saw people fighting, right? I was always the skinny, small dude that everybody underestimated.
Yeah.
So I saw people fighting and I was like, whoa, this is scary, right? But just through showing up, doing my best, doing that again and again and again, I eventually got really good. So I figured no matter what it is in life, if I just show up and do my best, I'll get a hang of it, right?
Yeah.
Exact same thing in sales,
Nice.
right? I knew nothing about the industry, making money online, and all of this when I got in. But I just showed up, did my best, was hungry to learn. And eventually it took me to where I am now, right? And in combat sports, there's something that you call the white belt mentality, which is basically saying that no matter where you're at, you should enter every room as a complete beginner, willing to learn. And I still live by this every single day. I still acquire a lot of mentors that I still want to learn as much as possible from. Because even though I've amounted to some success, right, it's nowhere near where I want to be. And I know the sky is the limit. Once you stop learning, you stop progressing. So
No, amazing, man. And what would you say, like some of the things? So let's go a little bit deeper into now strategy of taking sales calls, best principles on how, because we've worked with a lot of digital product business owners, also coaches, consultants, and we've had to work with sales teams, right? And we've seen some high performers, some lower performers. And so when you're in the sales call, right, your purpose is to help people guide people to their decision, right, of buying this product, right? And so there's lots of things: building trust, taking them through their limiting beliefs, hitting down those pillars. So I'm curious to kind of go a little bit deeper and understand for you, right? What do you think were the biggest things strategy-wise you had to improve? Especially if let's say we've got some beginner people considering going into sales or in sales, right? What are some of those things that strategy-wise you would say would be essential to improve to get to the next level, right? I think that would be quite interesting for a lot of people.
So one big mistake that I see young sales reps make is that they don't really know how to build trust, right? One way that you can build trust very effectively is not just ask great questions, but also share a bit about yourself, right? It's not about just talking all the time, obviously, right? You want to ask the right questions in the right tonality at the right time. However, if you share personal stories, right? Something personal about you, that's going to open up the other person you're talking to just as much, right? It's not just about them. At the end of the day, yes, you are basically there as a representative of the product and service of the coach or company you work with. But at the same time, they are buying from you on that call, the sales rep, right? So if you open up, you share personal stories, right? And you show them you're human and you trust them with your story, your personality, that builds trust. So I would say storytelling and actually opening up is something that actually helps the prospect tell stories and open up, right? So that goes both ways.
Nice, man. And there was one thing which I think I heard it from you, which was really, really, I did hear it from you, which was very interesting for me, right? And it's like, when you're in a sales call, yes, build trust, take them through, the steps of, discovery, finding out their problems, whatnot. But one thing which I found very effective, right, is the way that you can manage the direction of the call, right? And so I remember it was like you were saying something about how it's essential to make sure you're not getting trapped with certain things that people are saying. And as you said, asking the right questions to guide the conversation to the right way. So for example, someone could be there and be like, do you guys offer, or let's rather say, have you guys also worked with these type of companies, right? And it can or cannot be a trap question, right? And acknowledging them, being like, hey, that's actually a great question for asking that. What exactly are you trying to see, or what exactly would you need? Or asking these questions, which for me was actually really like, I was like, damn, that's actually true. Because even if I was in a sales call, right, I might have concerns and I might ask these questions, and being countered, because these questions I ask sometimes are like questions which will confirm my objection, right? Where it's like, but is it even, or I don't know if I can do this, or is like, I'm not sure if I can do this right now. And then you kind of guide and you're like, okay, that's actually a great thing that you're so concerned about the resources and time you're going to put in. That's actually correct, right? Most business owners, now most of our clients actually do that. What exactly, again, with the question, right? So I just found it very interesting as like how you, I've watched kind of some of the stuff you say, and I find it really interesting, like how much psychology plays in a role, and how much like it's a game of like understanding what people are going to think before they're going to kind of like go through with that thought or whatever it is, right? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it is. It does make sense. Like I said, marketing is more strategic than sales. Sales is just execution in terms of you have one simple skill to get good at. But at the same time, that skill is like playing chess, right? It's still somewhat strategic because you gather information on a sales call, right? And you're going to use that information eventually, right? That's why you ask those questions in the first place. So what you do throughout a sales call is basically ask a question, knowing where you are leading with it. You should always know your next few steps in sales, right? Because you want to lead the prospect into a certain direction, like said. So something very important on a sales call is, like said, obviously building trust, but also shaping a journey for the person and making that as vivid as possible. Meaning, what you want to do on a sales call is paint pictures. You want people to actually imagine. That's a very powerful word because it triggers the creative part of your brain, right? It helps the prospect actually imagine something. For example, the dream outcome, the life that they do want to live when getting enrolled and when getting your help to achieve whatever they want to achieve, right?
And I remember there was another thing you also showed me. It was this crazy chart or something of like the emotions that, so the goal of the salesperson is to get the emotion that you have, or let's rather say the conviction you have into the prospect so that they have that conviction and confidence to also make the change.
Yeah.
Right? It's really interesting.
In sales, it's not just about the techniques that you have and the knowledge that you have on technicalities, right? It's actually about the energy that you have. So what do I mean with that? There's something called the scale of consciousness, right? And what it really means is that you have to be in the right frequency yourself to be able to help someone. For example, when a prospect is feeling hopeless, right, unmotivated, sad, whatever, they're in a very low frequency, a very low state of consciousness. In order for you to elevate them and believe in something, right, that's possible, you have to be much higher on the scale of consciousness. If you're just as hopeless and unmotivated, right, you're not going to be able to elevate someone's way of thinking for them to be fired up and say, hey, I now feel it. I want to go for something. So what you essentially have to make sure as a sales rep is that you are in that positive frequency, right? If you come unmotivated or hopeless or whatever, you're not going to be able to give someone the energy they need to make positive decisions.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So something really important that I learned from one of my first mentors in sales is that people can only make positive decisions with positive feelings. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to make the whole sales call entertaining and fun and whatever and just give them positivity. They can feel very sad when speaking about their current situation, right? And just opening up about how they actually feel right now because they do have a problem. That's why they are there, right? Nobody is bored enough to book sales calls, go through qualification processes, and show up on a live call just because they're bored. In this world, there are people with real problems and there's real solutions out there. That's why this industry and sales calls, sales reps exist in the first place, right? So when people show up to these calls, right, what you want to do is actually help them understand their situation, right? The way I learned this was actually being a personal trainer selling premium gym memberships. Because I had people sitting there, right? Obese, unhealthy, having their doctor tell them, listen, if you don't fix this, you're going to die earlier. And they just played down the problem. Like, but it's okay. It's just a few beer, right? And it's just this and that. And the way I help these people and the way a sales rep should help people is help them realize the problem that they have and make the problem bigger. Because that's the only way they will take action to actually change something. If they just keep downplaying it, no, it's fine, whatever, they're not going to change it. But if you help them realize they need to change, they will. So what you do is you create the problem, right? Or help them see the problem, rather, and then help them see the solution. And in both of these things, you want to paint a vivid picture so they can really feel the pain of their current situation, but also feel the positivity, the excitement of where they could be. Imagining what their life could look like if they actually took action and did something about their situation, right? So that's how you make a big gap. It's always about creating the gap between where they are now and where they could be. If the change is somewhat small, they might not really take action because it doesn't seem that important. But if the problem they have is so severe, and on the other side, the solution, the life they could be living is their dream, they will take action because they understand how life-changing the opportunity on that sales call actually is for them.
No, 100% makes a lot of sense, man. Absolutely. That's really amazing. It's really amazing, man. Yeah, I definitely think for a lot of people, that's quite good. Now, maybe you have some advice on where people could potentially get started in sales. Like, where do you recommend, what industries? Because there's so many places, so many industries where there's not that much opportunity to grow. And you seem to have done a really good job getting into the right sales careers, right sales positions. I think a lot of people would want to learn about that.
I think when it comes to making money in sales, one of the number one things that you need to fix if you're not yet making the money you want to make as a sales rep is sell premium products. It's that simple, right?
Okay.
Because if you go
What type
down,
of products would you say ideally? And what's the easiest way for someone to get started with it?
what's the easiest way? Find people who are making a lot of money by providing huge value. Value is
Okay.
always exchanged for money, right? So if you want to make more money, you got to provide more value, meaning solve bigger problems. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to be the person solving those problems. You can just be the middleman, making the connection between the client, the prospect, and the company who does provide the solution. So being that middleman, making that connection happen, you can actually make a lot of money by, like I said, selling premium products. So how do you find these premium products? Different niches that really work is, sure, fitness works, dating works, because dating was one of the most fundamental desires of humans, right? If we
Finding
feel
love.
lonely, we're going to have a burning desire to change that, right? Also, making money, right? There's so much opportunities to make money out there, and different opportunities are different or a better fit for different people, right? Without money, you can't really survive, right? That's a human need that you have. Fitness and health, nutrition, all of that stuff, health, just as important, right? Let's go to Ty Lopez, who we've both had the opportunity of sitting down with, have dinner with for quite a few times now. Ty always says health, wealth, love, and happiness. Those are 4 core elements that it takes to live a happy, fulfilled life for humans, right? So if you're in one of these things, when it comes to providing value and solutions, you're going to make a lot of money, right? Health, like I said, nutrition and fitness. Wealth, making money. Happiness, finding yourself, being fulfilled with what you're doing, right? Potentially changing your career because you're not happy in the job that you are in, right? And love, like I said, being able to genuinely connect with people. That could be rewind your past and work on something that's been keeping you from doing that. Or also just getting better at actually opening up, connecting with people and dating, right?
Okay, awesome, man. I mean, maybe the last question I have is, what do you recommend for a lot of people who are much younger, trying to be able to get into sales, make money? How are you able to avoid a lot of the distractions and stuff that a lot of people struggle with, like partying, doing this? Of course, I'm not, trying to say everything's completely bad, but what are some principles that helped you kind of break out and because you're well above average, compared to most people your age. And I think a lot of people that are trying to also get to the next level would have a lot of questions on what your mindset was around personal life, other people around you and whatnot.
So here's the thing, when you speak about psychology and sales, right? If you want to achieve something, you have to sell yourself on achieving that. The most important sale that you will ever make is selling yourself on the fact that you can achieve it, right? So if people say, man, I'm not motivated or this or that, or just getting distracted, then you don't want it bad enough. So how can you help yourself want it more? Ask yourself the right questions to become aware of your own pain. Look into your situation, reflect, and be brutally honest. Is what you're doing currently going to get you the life you actually want? No? Okay. Either you stay exactly where you are, or you finally take action and make a change. If you don't, you have to live with the consequences. But ask yourself the question of, what would those consequences look like? Help yourself. Be aware of what is at stake, right? And if you do just that and you realize how important it is for you to actually dial in, be focused, and take action, there's only one way, right?
Yeah.
And focus is not sitting down for 5 hours and getting a task done. Focus and commitment is making strategic decisions that take you to where you want to be in the long term, right? Is committing to something for longer than just a few weeks, right? Nothing great comes easy, right? So at the end of the day, you have to put in some time to achieve what you want to achieve. So make the decision and stick to it. There will be bumps along the way, right? There's struggles in everything, but you got to be able to push through. And it's never been easier to be successful than now. One reason being that there's so much access to information out there for free, but also you could access highly successful people that have the exact knowledge that you're missing to go to their level and just pay them to learn everything, right? That's mentorship. I mean, we've both invested multiple 5 figures into mentorship, masterminds, learning from exactly these people, right? And another thing is, when it comes to elevating yourself to a level that you want to go to, right? Like I said, invest into mentors, look at the information that is already out there, and also change your environment. Put yourself in those rooms, right? Like I said, masterminds, mentorships, but also going to places where you feel the energy of successful people. Like highly, I don't know, good restaurants, right? Nice places like Dubai,
Yeah.
hotels. Hang out with these people, look at what they do, how they act, how they think.
No, 100%, man. That's powerful. I think that's amazing. Anything else you want to ask?
One more thing I'd like to add, where you just asked, okay, how would you keep yourself from getting distracted, partying and whatnot, right? I see so many people in sales, they start making money, they make 10K plus a month, right? Which is like the first benchmark that people want to hit. And then they start getting like luxury watches, they get cars on lease where they have monthly payments for those, right? That's when you start getting more comfortable, when you feel like you've achieved something. And that's the exact reason why I moved to Dubai. Because in Germany, right, people started patting me on the back saying, man, you made it. I'm like, really? If you stay in that exact environment, you're going to start to believe that. That's why I came here to Dubai, because I know I'm the smallest fish in the pond. Everybody is thinking bigger, doing bigger numbers, right? Just being more dialed in than I am, right? Because let's be honest, like in sales, if you have the right opportunity as a digital middleman, it's fairly easy to hit that 10K per month, right? Don't get comfortable there. Put yourself in environments that will fuel you to think bigger, do more, and you will grow accordingly.
No, absolutely, man. I think that's a great point. Can definitely relate a little bit on that one.
When it comes to actually communicating value, right? I know you're not a sales guy, but yet at your age, you've been able to land extremely successful, high-level clients that all want to work with you, just because of the track record you have and the proof of what you've done. How have you been able to build that from scratch, really?
Yeah, so I can definitely say I think a huge thing for me was definitely mentors. Like I still to this day can say like there's nothing more powerful than being a beginner, right? And you know, I'm in Dubai now, and actually yesterday I had one of my friends and business friends, actually he launched a product and it did so well. I've never seen results like that before, right? And it just blew my mind away. And so to put it simply, I think that a lot of people can sit down, at least for me, I can say, you can sit down here and you can say, hey, read books every day. You can say to be super disciplined. You can say go to gym, have the perfect mindset. All of this helps, right? Reading helps. Being in shape helps, right? Eating clean helps, right? Avoiding these things helps. But I'll tell you that there's one most important thing which makes 100% of the 99% of the difference, right? I think it's the only realistic way for someone to force to get themselves to get to the next level. And that's the who game, right? And it's quite funny because we scaled like quite a few projects, but I'm telling you that every single project which we've done exceptionally well is down to the who game, right? Meaning who we're working with. And then for personal development, getting to the level where you actually have enough skills, it's also by being surrounded by the right people. And so when I started out, I completely sucked at the thing. Of course, I started reading, I started thinking, but it did make some form of difference. Now, there's a book called U Squared by Price Pritchett, and it speaks about how humans are like flies, right? So we fly and we hit like a window or something, and then we just go harder and harder because we think that doing the thing harder is going to get you the result. But a lot of the times it's about looking left and right? Looking at the various different options and ways you can go, okay? And so why I bring up the who game is because a lot of the times if you're not where you want to be, in my view, the only way or the highest leverage way is to find yourself, put yourself in a position or somehow get yourself in a position where you can average out. And now by average out, I mean become the average of the people you're around mentally, skill-wise, and whatnot. And so for me, I think that it wasn't that I sat down there and I just had these connections. What helped me was my phone, right? I had the motivational page I was reaching out to. I was growing a following. So all of a sudden I was creating content and I had a few thousand followers. And now speaking to other people with a few thousand followers that were growing and trying to make money too. And all of a sudden they're saying, hey, let's do a collab, right? Then all of a sudden now with the collab, it does bad, the first one, then the second one does great. And then all of a sudden from that collab, you now see another person, right? And so for me, the entry point was social media, right? That's what allowed me to connect with people that were doing things at a better level. And so for me, where I think my like leap happened was when I actually worked with this one team. They're these two guys that I look up to like crazy, right? Till this day. And they scaled a client from 0 to 2 million a month in under 2 years. 2 million like US dollars cash collected a month in under 2 years, right? Which is for me mind blowing. And I was in that room and I had some skills that I learned from my network, whatever. And I came to actually apply a certain skill to their marketing team. Through that, I learned so many different things, studied so many things that became my springboard to landing much bigger clients, taking much bigger stakes in projects, becoming. And so the thing I think that's the most important for everyone is that I know so many people who sit down here and will tell you about, eating, reading every day, which honestly reading I think is like actually such an important thing. But I'm just saying like what's actually going to make the leap in my view is the people who you're around. I think to a degree, yes, you do need your own personal, but I 100% think it's the who game. People will make you smarter. People will make you do things better. People will help you achieve more. And if you're in this thing of like trying to do a strategy, I can guarantee you now, surround yourself with the right people and you will figure out things which you'll never figured out before. You can have a problem where you sit down here and like, how do I solve it? With the right person giving you the right insights, the right angles, you'll solve that problem, right? So for me, I think ultimately the biggest thing I can say that made the number one difference is the who game, right? And a lot of people don't speak about, a lot of people can say motivation. I know so many people who are so motivated, so disciplined, and they don't still struggle. They don't make it, right?
Yeah.
And so 100% I can say the who game for me is what is everything.
I couldn't agree more with a lot of things that you just said. I feel like something that's holding a lot of people back is that they don't allow themselves to be successful. Meaning they tell themselves, I can't for whatever reason, right? That's something I tell so many people. Stop disqualifying yourself for whatever, your gender, your age, where you're from. All these things don't matter, right? If you just go for it, you can achieve these things. Like I said, we've met so many people that started with nothing and now they've amounted to insane success looking in from the outside, right? So many people disqualify themselves on these things and don't allow themselves to actually pursue things and get into it. Like you said, it is the who game of who you know, right? Getting into these rooms. And like I said, the most important sale that you ever make is selling yourself on that you can actually achieve these things, right? The person who says, I can, the person who says, I can't, they're both right. You choose your reality, right? And you can actually speak things into existence. If you keep telling yourself, I will manage, right? I can do this, you'll put yourself in the right positions.
Yeah.
Trust yourself to figure it out along the way. Nobody knew the ins and outs and was a master when he got started in anything, right? You just have to get going. You just have to take the first step and then take one after the other, right? You know the saying, you don't have to see the whole staircase, you just have to take the first step. Same with me getting into sales, right? I put myself into a position being on this highly successful sales team in a big, big business. And I failed my first 3 calls. But I put in the time and effort to get better, and then one after the other, 12 in a row, I closed them all and figured, wow, I'm actually really good at this, right?
Yeah.
But I put myself in that position in the first place and trusted myself, right? Pressure builds diamonds, right? Pressure makes diamonds. That's why you gotta put yourself in a position that forces you to make it work, right? I moved out to Dubai saying, I will make it work. There's high pressure environments here, right? Life costs a lot of money and everybody else is more successful. That's adding a lot of pressure. I like that, right? Because who am I betting on? On myself to make it.
No, man, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So one more thing that you touched on. Let me just try to rewind what you just said and gather my thoughts. You said that it's the who game, right? U squared of who you know. And you also said that a quantum leap for you was knowing the right people getting into those rooms. For me, getting into sales and being the most successful sales rep on a very big team, right? Closing a lot with somebody who's fairly well known in the industry, right? The industry is a bubble. And if you get really good and you make a name for yourself, the word will get around. And that's what happened to me. Being the highest performing sales rep on that one very well-known business, right? I figured, hey, this business owner knows all these other people and they all need sales, right? So that's how quickly I was able to, through what I delivered, build a network of so many business owners who needed me to build sales teams for them, right? To deliver highly qualified digital middlemen and sales reps for them. And that's kind of how my business grew, by one, getting into the right offer, performing on that offer, making a name for myself, and then building good connections with a lot of other business owners who needed services such as, hey, I need good closers, I need digital middlemen, I need to have a high performing sales team, right? So all of that kind of came together.
Nice, man. And yeah, man, I know you've been crushing it for a long time. You have a lot of highly successful students. So really great job.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I feel like one thing that is, it triggers me. Many people think they know sales, right? Just because, I don't know, they've been to a bookstore and somebody tried to sell them, right? I get it. Sales is everywhere in life. Every single conversation is a sale, right? You sell your friends on where you want to go out for dinner or the vacation that you want to go on to. You sell yourself to your potential partner or the person that you're dating, right? You sell your boss on a raise, right?
Yeah.
Everything in life is a sale. But that doesn't mean you know sales just because you've been in life, right? So many people look at sales like, oh, it's so sleazy and you try to convince people and whatnot. That's not sales, right? And I feel like many people are getting burnt because of the opportunity they're in. Now I know what I wanted to say. You said that sometimes you're just good at something, but just working harder isn't going to get it or isn't going to get you the results that you want just because you're in the wrong place, right? Sometimes it's not just about working harder, but changing your environment. Meaning you could be great in sales, but if you sell really like cheap products, you're not going to make a lot of money. For example, I was selling gym memberships, making my boss 6-figure revenue, making almost no money. I was making $500 a month back in Germany, right? All I did was change my environment and start doing the exact same thing for someone who was highly successful, providing lots of value with premium products. And my income skyrocketed, right? I went from making $500 a month to making 5 figures per month in no time, just because I changed the environment that I was in when it comes to sales.
Of course, yeah.
So this is something I tell people who are in sales, cold calling, door knocking, right? Kind of asking people if they're even interested.
Yeah.
You have to change your environment and put yourself in a frame where people are actually applying to be able to have a conversation with you to get what they already signed up for, right? And that's what you do as a digital middleman. You put yourself in a position where you're the premium expert that has the key to allow someone to achieve what they are looking for, right? You don't have to convince anyone. It's just about you seeing if they are the right fit and you actually allowing them to move forward with what they, like said, already signed up for.
Makes
right?
sense. Makes sense. Okay, amazing, man. Amazing. No, that's amazing, man. I think these are such insane insights. Amazing story too. And yeah, it's really awesome, man. I think it's a really great job you've done with sales. And I'm excited, man. I think you're gonna take it to the next level. I know you've got quite a lot of things going on now. Yeah. I mean, maybe where can people check you out on social?
Yeah, Instagram is Nick Oliver David, just my full name. And you can check me out there. Shoot me a message if you want to know more about sales, getting into the industry, becoming digital middleman, or just overall life advice, mindset on how to get ahead. Because that's one thing that I can tell people. I was a guy doubting myself to the fullest, right?
Yeah.
After school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't have like a direction. Back in school, my classmates said, oh, I want to do med, I want to do law, I want to do this. They all had a very clear plan, and I didn't, right? I had no idea what I wanted to do after school. So I ended up kind of doing nothing, ending up as the local supermarket cashier. And I literally asked myself, are you a failure? Is this all that you're going to amount to, right? Like I said, having classmates all study at elite universities and me being the cashier, I thought, wow, you really messed up. And I had to go the long route of outworking my self-doubt bit by bit by bit. And in doing that, I ended up where I am now, which is living in Dubai, making good money, and living the life I've always wanted. So if that's something I can tell people, is just trust yourself, go for it, and believe you can do it, right? No matter where you are now, if you just start and don't stop, you're going to reach your goals. So go for it.